So we were talking about web security and what are the different methods which are used to provide the web security to the data that is available on the web or that is available on the web application. So they are the different methods are used to provide such security to the data. For example, uh, we have different methods applied on any data to provide the security to the data. For example, we are uh, doing this with the help of the confidentiality, integrity, and denial of service and authentication. So these are the main features for providing the security to any data or security to any network or any to any service which is provided to some user. So we are discussing about these things that how we can provide such security to the users. For example, as far as the web application is concerned, it's working on the transport layer, and we have to provide the security to the web using the transport layer. So the transport layer consists of uh, the port number. Basically, it is related to the port number for the particular application, and where the data is going to be sent or received. So for as far as the web applications are concerned, they are working at particular port number, and we have to make that particular port number secure so that any intruder or any unauthorized user cannot access that particular application. So we have different methods applied on here, like there is a layer of security is made by this method, where we can apply the security on the web application. So that layer consists of the protocols which are used to apply the security on the web application. For example, we have a protocol. We make a layer over here on the transport layer, and that is layer is called a secure socket layer. So that layer consists of uh, many protocols, and these many protocols are used to provide the security to the data that is on the web or to the application that is providing some services to the users. So, for example, this layer is developed by the Netscape, and it is making an a standard, and which is also called as a transport layer security, and it provides the TCP. It is connected with the TCP protocol to provide further connection oriented message or connection oriented connection between a client and the server, for example. So there are different types of the protocols are in SSL. So they are categorized in different protocols. So we will discuss that what is the architecture for that and what are the different protocols which are used at this layer. For example, we have SSL handshake, we have SSL change cipher protocol, we have SSL alert protocol, SSL record protocol. So actually, the security of the data, security of the web application is provided using different protocols. So we will discuss them each one of them, every of them, and discuss that how they provide the security to the data, how they provide this secure function to the web application or web services which are provided to some application. For example, here, as far as the SSL secure socket layer architecture is concerned, so when we are using this architecture, so we are applying this on the web application, and web applications are mainly based on the client server model. Means there's a client like a web browser, and there's a server like web server, and the client sends requests for web application, and particular web page is displayed, or particular web service or web application is given to the client for accessing that services. So this is model which is working on the web applications. And when we want to send some data to when a client want to send some data to the server, our server want to send some data to the client. So before doing this, they need to authenticate each other. So they authenticate each other using a protocol called as a handshake protocol. So we will discuss that what are the different messages which are being exchanged when they are using the handshake protocol. And there are the different parameters are used which are exchanged between client and server. They are encrypted so that an intruder or an attacker cannot access them. So it's possible that we are making many connection with the client and server. And there are, you can say, for example, a client may access many web applications or websites at a time. So that's why it makes multiple connections between a client and a server which are providing the web applications. And then we have as you know, there's a peer-to-peer model as well. But as far as the web applications are concerned, they are using client server model, where there's a client in the form of the web browser, and where the server in the form of the web server. So they are exchanging messages with each other using a protocol like handshake protocol, which is used to authenticate the client to the server and server to the client. Now we discuss about what is a handshake protocol and what are different other protocols which are used to provide the security functions to the SSL. They are secure socket layer to the web application. So we have different protocols are used here. So as we discussed that if we want to provide the security to any data, or if we want to provide the security to any network, for example, so we need to provide security in the form of confidentiality and integrity and authentication. So these are the basics function. These are the main functions which are provided to any data, to any network, to any service or application to provide the secure functions for that data, for that network, or for that particular application or for that service. So we have different protocols are used here. Like for example, there's a if we want to make the data secure from the intruder or from the attacker, we use different encryption methods. So encryption methods consist of semantic encryption and asymmetric encryption. As far as the semantic encryption is concerned, where they are same keys are used for encryption as well as decryption, and asymmetric encryption consists of the different keys for encryption as well as for decryption. So basically, this protocol is using mostly semantic encryption. So the examples of semantic algorithms are like DES algorithm, 3DES algorithm, or AES algorithm. So they are used to provide the semantic encryption to the data. And then we have some integrity function applied to the data, or integrity is applied to the data. What does integrity mean here is that we are if any of the change is done in the data, that would be identified by the user, that could be identified by the system, for example. So here some method is applied, some functions are applied on the data. So whenever they are applied on the data, they create some value that would be, if we are using the message authentication code or make algorithm, then it will create a make value. If we are using a h make value, that it hash message authentication code, then it will create a hash value. So in this way, we have these algorithms which are these functions which are applied on the data. So whenever they create any make or hash value from the data, so that is attached with the message, and when it is received at the receiver end, so it will compare that with the original message. If it is the same message, that means there's a, you can say, the message is not been changed. So if it is a different phrase, for example, then it would be considered that the message has been changed, or message is different as that of the which is sent by the sender. So in this way, this protocol is working on some data, on some messages, for example, to provide the confidentiality to the data and to provide the integrity to the data. Now we have some other protocols, like as I discussed with you, that whenever any of the messages which are being sent from the client to the server, so they are either they are the messages which are being sent to the sent, all the messages are being sent, or some messages are pending. If all the messages are being sent, so it states, for example, there's no pending message, so it states a digit for that, that is zero, for example. If the messages are in pending state, so it states for that it it can be I it can be defined with the digit, like for example, one, so that tells that the messages are in pending state and they need to be sent it. So we have different type of, you can say, messages are used, which are either used for the authentication or for using this messages to other system, for example. So in this way, we have some other type of protocols, like there's a alert protocol, SSL alert protocol, which is used to notify to the intruder, which is going to notify to the user the system that either that particular, for example, any error occurs, or any, you can say, damage has been occurring to the system. So that would be notified by the system to the user, so that he can fix that problem. So there are the number of notifications, or number of, we can say, errors, or number of messages which are being notified, which are being given to the user, for example. So they depends on the severity of the particular take, that how severe is that. So if it is a severe, that it's said to be a fatal error or warning, some warning to the system, so that it would be immediately notified to the system or to the user, so that he can fix that. And then we have some other type of messages, like for example, unexpected message, bait record make, decompression failure, handshake failure, illegal parameter, and some certificates or certificate notifications. uh, these certificates are actually used to provide authentication for particular data, that particular data is sending the a particular user sending the data, that is actually verified or certified user. So it contains a particular certificate which identifies that that particular user is authenticated user. So it consists of many, you can say, parameters, like if any of the certificate need to be renewed, or if it's if any of the certificate need to be reissued. So these are the different things which are coming where we are using the certificates to authenticate a user to some system, or to authenticate a user to another application. So in this way, so these are the different types of alerts. These are different types of, we can say, notifications which are given by the system to the user, so that the user can fix that particular situation, or the system can fix that particular problem if any occurs in the system. So we have some other protocol to provide the authentication to the data. For example, we say that that is a handshake protocol, like that is to provide the authentication to other user. So if there's a client and if there's a server, for example, so the client sends an authentication request to the client, and server in this way send authentication to the server as well, or to the client as well. So we have they before they exchange different messages with each other, they are going to exchange different messages, so that any unauthorized user cannot access particular services or cannot access particular application. So we have the client and the server, they are exchanging different messages. And for example, for encryption of the data, for different keys which are used to encrypt the data. So they are the different phases used here. Like for example, to establish security capability means, for example, to have encryption methods, so to apply the encryption on the data, or to authenticate the server to the client and exchange the key between to the with the client, for example, and the client will authenticate itself to the server and also exchange the key to the server, for example. Then after that it will closes the connection. So in this way, this process can be further explained by this figure as well. Like for example, there's a client and there's a server. They exchange different messages with each other, and the client sends some hello message to the server. So in this way, the server will reply to the client with the hello message. And now they can in this way they can connect to each other. Now they have after using this messages, they will extend some messages for authenticating the user, authenticating to each other. For example, server send the certificate to the client or the key to encrypt the data, and then after it will also request for the certificate from the client, and sends you can say hello message, or for example, the exchange of message has been done from the server. And then the client in this way can send its certificate and can send its key to encrypt the data from the server, which is coming from the server. And then it will be verify that particular message is coming from authenticated user. So that is actually, we say that it's a certificate that is coming from a server, so that would be verified by the client. So in this way they authenticate to each other, and any data is being exchanged between a client and server, which will be verified data uh, before extending other messages. The client will verify to the data to the server. Server will verify to the client in this way. Then after that, the state of the chain cipher spec will be defined. If any of the messages are in pending state, then it will say one for that. So if all the messages are being sent it to other user, for example, then it will say the state zero for that. So in this way, it will define different messages, and they are exchanged with each other. And after exchanging different messages, the connection is closed. So in this way, the handshake protocol is working between the client and the server. And before sending different other messages, they are going to exchange these messages with the help of a protocol like the handshake protocol. Now, as we are discussing that the TCP layer is providing different connection oriented functions to the client and server. and on that we are making some layer like secure socket layer, and also which is defining some standard like transport layer security. So it is working similar as that of secure socket layer, with some differences with this. For example, it consists of record format version. It uses HMake or in place of make algorithm, and it uses different others functions to provide the security to the data, and some more alerts are provided in this layer, for example, and some other algorithms are used to perform encryption and decryption, and it also uses some methods for authenticating the data. They are also being exchanged between client and server whenever transport layer security is concerned, and there's some other changes are added to the data, or changes are added to the protocol. So in this way we have different methods are involved, which are providing different functions to the data. So when we say that different functions are provided to the data, so it is provided with the help of a layer that is called the transport layer. And now we have some method that is apply. Now we discuss about some method that how we can buy something from an internet or from a shop using a credit card, for example. So actually, we are discussing about the method which is used by this you can say way of buying something uh, on the internet or from some shop. So that which architecture is used, what are the different systems are involved, how the user is authenticating to other user, how the different systems are connected, and how they are using different protocols which are used to verify a particular user to other user, what are the different certificates are used to verify to authenticate different users. So they are different things we will discuss about there. And then we have also some other things as well to discuss about this, like how we perform different transactions using such protocol. Like for example, we have an architecture used here, as you can see in the figure as well. For example, if there's a client and that client holds a credit card, for example, and he wants to authenticate itself to the system, and before accessing the particular service for that, it will be verified by the certification authority, and it will send a particular certificate to the particular user. That then after that, that will be verified that if that particular user is a legitimate user, which is authorized user. And then we have in the same way we can also use some certificates which are issued to the user or to the device just that is in the system, and they are issuing some certificate to that. And these certificates are actually the certificates which are issued to particular user, and when they are issued to particular user, they are verifying a user that either that is a legitimate user which is sending the data to other user, and which is sending the data to other users. So if they are sending the data to other user using a particular certificate, so they are verifying to each other. They are verifying a particular user which is having a credit card and which is holding a credit card, and they will be verified using a particular certificate that is called the, you can say, digital certificate, which is verifying a user. They are the different functions are used here, which are being applied whenever this type of transaction is done. Like for example, a customer or user will open an account, and after opening an account, it will receive a particular certificate from a user. And once it receives a particular certificate from a user, it will verifies to the user as well, and it can now place some order. So in this way, if any device which is at the shop and it is actually receiving a particular certificate from that, it will also verify that. So in this way, we have after verifying the user, or after verifying the uh, card holder, for example, then it will order for that uh, and pay for that, and to face particular authorization, or for example, some the bank which is involved to perform the payment, to do payment to the user on behalf of the user. For example, it will send the rupees to that, and then it will uh, uh, give the particular service or particular, you can say, thing which is being ordered by the user. Then it will provide that. So in this way, this transaction is done with the help of different components, and these different components are called as, we can say, uh, different devices or different components which are used to perform the transaction. Credit card, uh, whenever we are using some credit card on for buying something, or whenever we are using credit card to buy something through internet or to some shop. So that architecture is used, that is involved to buy something through that means. Now uh, we have some method is applied in this situation, that is called a dual signature. Why we say it's a dual signature? Because it verifies a particular message, it verifies a particular data uh, using a twice, for example. So once it uses with the private key, and then it uses with the public key, for example. So it will verifies a message using a that's why we said that it's a dual type of verifying of particular data. So that's called we say dual signature. So it will do this on the data which is about to order something, and which is about to pay something to the bank, for example. And then it will use to have an architecture like this. For example, we have some sort of data is it is like for paying something, as it is for ordering something. So to pay some data, to secure the data which is used for the payment, or to secure the data which is used for the ordering something. So it is encrypted using an encryption method, or using an encryption key, for example. So whenever any data is being secured, so it applies encryption on that. So when it applies encryption on that, so uh, then it will be, for example, then at the receiver end, it will be using a key to decrypt that. So in this way, it adds a security to the data, or it adds a confidentiality to the data. So if we want to make the data, you can say in a way that if any of the change has been done, or if any of the change has been applied on the data, that would be identified at the receiver end, for example. So we can do this with the help of a hashing function that is applied on some data. So that hashing function is applied, like for example, we say that it is applying some hashing function on some data or message when it produce some value. So that is called a hash value or message digest. So it will be, as we have discussed, that it will be compared with with the data which is coming in the receiver end. So if it is the same, then that the message is been said that it's not been changed. So if it is a different, that means the message has been changed, for example. So it can use either symmetric algorithm to encrypt the data, or it can use an asymmetric algorithm to encrypt the data. So we have discussed different types of symmetric algorithms and asymmetric algorithms, so how they are used to encrypt the data and decrypt the data. So in this way, uh, the purchase case is done with by the customer to the server, and when this case is sent to the client or to the a user, for example, card holder here, to the server, so that could be verified by the server. And once it is verified by the server, it can then send some other information to the client, so that he can be authenticated, and after authentication, he can place some order, or he can do some transaction on the internet, or on this device which is its particular shop. For example, here we are using some other functions as well as here. Like for example, there's a if any of the purchase is being done using a device which is at some shop, for example, that performs some function like a purchase case, for example. So to do this, so it will also send some sort of information. Some sort of information is authenticated by the user. So if any of the card holder that is scanning his card at some device which is at the shop, so he will be authenticated by that device, and he will send some messages like order information and some payment information to the server. And then after sending these different messages, he will be verified. So he will be verified using some functions like for example hash function, or for example he will be we can say authenticating a user or making the data secure. Like for example, it's like this. If any of the card holder is doing a purchase through case, and then it will be received by that device, and it will decrypt that information using an RS algorithm, or it will apply some hash value on that, so that it could be identified that either the message is being is same or it's changed. So in this way, it verifies to the particular user. So once that particular user is being verified, it also can send some request to some bank related to the card holder, and after sending that request, it will send the particular certificates to the user. And when it sends a particular certificates to the user, then it will authenticate the user to the particular server. So in this way, we have different types of messages which are being exchanged between client and server. Like the purchase case consists of verifying a card holder using different certificates from a certification authority, and it will also verify a particular user using a digital signature. Like as I told you, that it will use a dual signature here. So it will use a public key and the private key for signature or for verifying the particular data or particular user. So it will use a public key as well as a private key to verify that. So after verifying that, he can place the order for particular card holder, and give an authority to the card holder to perform some transactions, and then it will send a purchase response to the card holder. So in this way, these are the different different functions or different messages being exchanged whenever any transaction is being done from a client to the server, or from a user that is a card holder, or for example a device which is at some shop. So it will verify a particular user, and after verifying that, it will send an information to the user or to the card holder to do some task. So in this way, the purchase case is done, and there's another type of messages are being exchanged for giving an authority to particular user to perform some task. Uh, like for example, the system which is paying for particular thing, or so how he can authorize particular user to perform some transaction. So it will also verify different certificates for that, and it will also decrypt some data uh, using a symmetric encryption, or it may use a asymmetric encryption. So if it is a device that is